Billy,
All right. Hey, what's up, man?
how are you, man?
It's good to see you.
No, I'm thinking
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like a short 6 months ago, we were together in your hometown getting the full Billy Reid experience in Florence, and now we are reconnecting in our various living rooms stretched across the country right now.
good. Man, that does not seem like 6 months ago. I swear it seems like a couple weeks ago
Yeah,
almost. But
it really does. That was the last trip I took. That was the last time I was on a plane. That was the last like in-person meeting get
yeah,
together I've had. So, yeah,
yeah.
so
You had some pretty important things going on coming up before
yeah,
then.
that's
All
right.
right, after that, rather.
Yeah, that was the last trip my wife was letting me travel on for a while, anyways, with the
Exactly.
baby that you're referring to. But yeah,
Yeah,
it was a great looking back in sort of the sense of gratitude. I'm thrilled that we were able to get that trip in because I do look
yeah,
back fondly, but particularly even more so in the current situation that we're in.
yeah. I like that hat you picked up too.
I was gonna say, and I think I said this to you when I saw you in Florence because I was wearing another one of your pieces, and I think
Yeah,
like hopefully going forward for the rest of our friendship and relationship, like I'll say this every time, but Billy Reid's in my closet about 50% of my wardrobe, and so
yeah.
chances are I'm gonna be wearing something whether I see you or not, and so it's kind of
Wow.
like wearing the band T-shirt to the concert, and so like I got the hat that I picked up in your store, your flagship in Florence, and then my
Oh yeah, baby.
favorite
Yeah.
sweatshirt of all time. I
Oh
know,
yeah.
like you tell the story, but the inspiration behind the leather patches was it
Yeah.
resting your elbow on your open Jeep window?
Yeah, yeah, it's actually and the little armrest there. I mean, my Jeep is what 20, almost 22, 23 years old now, and there are just so many worn spots. And I said, well, wouldn't it be nice if we kind of put a piece of leather right there, something that would kind of stop that from happening?
Yeah,
And yeah, that's kind of why it happened. So
I know it wasn't
yeah,
intentional then, but it's also very
yeah,
applicable to right now. One, it's by far the most comfortable, but also my
you're doing this all day long now.
I need a
Yeah,
lot more, so it's a good
yeah,
little ad for my 8 hours on the computer.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And everyone sees each other now from the top up, so it's all that
exactly.
It's all that matters. I haven't had a haircut, in 4 months now, I think. So
Me either.
I,
Yeah. Why?
I,
I mean,
I, I did trim the beard
yeah.
because it got Oak Ridge boys for just about 3 weeks, and I couldn't take it. My wife couldn't take it either anymore, so we had to had
I
to cut back on that.
very similar situation. I've been trimming the beard, but one of the reasons, in addition to love the hat and I wear it regularly regardless, one of the reasons why I am wearing it is this is the longest my hair has ever been, and it's pretty out of control. So, like if you're going to video, you should probably cover that right now because it looks
Yeah,
like a giant like squirrel's nest, as she described it. But anyways, um, yeah, really good to see you. Thanks for spending some
yeah,
time. Are you in Alabama? You're not in Florence right now. Are you in your cabin? Did I hear?
yeah. We're sort of posted up out here, out in the woods, and at our cabin, and which is kind of away from everything. So it's been nice. It really has been. So yeah, it's about 20, when it's about 20 minutes from the office.
Okay,
So it's really not that far, maybe 10 miles or so. But
got it.
yeah, we've been spending more and more time out here, which has really kind of been really nice.
Yeah. And so I mean, as we all are working virtually, and have you had to move your studio and sort of I know you've got a great sort of corner in your office where a lot of your design inspiration, a lot of your work is done. I assume you have that already in a space like that, but
Yeah,
how's that transition to now working from home full time been for you?
it's been fairly seamless. I mean, it's so weird. I mean, in some ways, I feel like as a team, I feel like it's forced us to be more organized,
Mm,
and not rely on each other to just, walk to the desk next to you or, have that conversation, you'd have in person. We have to force it, but it hasn't felt forced at all. I really feel like it's been a wonderful, seamless transition in that way. Now, obviously we love for the stores to be open and, all this to go away, but it's really been pretty good. So, I mean, other than, like having the sewing machines and a full rack of samples here. I've got my sketchbooks and the laptop and some design boards, and just make it work. You do your best.
Yeah, absolutely. I think back to, and you and I were talking a little bit before we hopped on video. Um, we could spend a whole couple hours kind of talking your backstory and your history and what has gotten you to where you are now. And I'd love to hit on a few of those sort of key points, but I do think about certain points throughout your story. You've been doing this for a while, and you've also weathered some pretty big sort of moments in our culture and community, and have had to adjust and survive through recession. And I know you were at 9/11 when you were in New York during 9/11.
Yeah.
And yeah, one thing I was thinking about before jumping on this with you, um, this is obviously a situation sort of unprecedented. None of us have been through something like this, but the challenges and the adjustments that a business and a brand has to make. You've got probably some good lessons along the way. Any sort of jump out right now, sort of looking back along your story that you learned at various points throughout sort of the William Reid to Billy Reid evolution that you find particularly helpful for you and your team currently?
Yeah, a lot of it's just outlook, positivity, and um, going through, 9/11 for me. I mean, our runway show was September 10th, the day before the terrorist attacks, during Fashion Week. So that was a huge blow. I mean, it was a knockout blow, really. So that is when we started. I was in New York. We decided to move back to Alabama and kind of reset life. And we went through, a couple of years of really struggling. And it was sort of the reset was it. When you come out of something like that, you realize what's important, your family and that sort of support. And I had 2 kids at the time then, and it's like, hey, this is all that really matters. This fashion, is can come and go. This is what's important to me. It sort of just gave me a confidence to say, think that, hey, if we can overcome this, we can, we can do it, and it really kind of set the stage really for what we were able to do with the brand and, the company now. Was, it's like, hey, we can do something unexpected. We can create a fashion company based it in the deep South in Florence, Alabama, and we can make it work, and we can compete, and we can build something and build a community around it. And it just kind of, again, it was sort of that huge setback was when you come through it. It's just a confidence it gives you, I think. And I'm not trying to paint a this big rosy picture, but it certainly it's a lot of it was internal. And I think as we went through the recession and, in 2008, the day we opened our door, we were working on the store in New York City. It was our first shop in New York, and it was like a huge moment for us because we were kind of building the showroom and our press office and our store all into this one space. And the only thing we could think about, we were in downtown on the east side, which we're still in the building there. We were, it was like, man, we're going to open this door and all these Wall Street people are going to come in here and they're going to want suits. Well, literally the day we opened the doors was the day the market crashed. And you talk about a flashback, man.
Yeah.
And, we had to regroup and, a lot of resetting again. And, somehow we made it out of it, came out stronger. And even though those things are nothing like what we're going through now, I do try to look back and gain from what I gained there. It's just trying to remain positive that we're going to make it, and it will pass, and this will be another thing that you go through in life. Life's going to throw you curveballs, and you got to somehow adjust your swing and knock it out of the park. So
it's such a great point. I think it's always also fascinating. This is affecting us all in various capacities in various ways. But every single one of us is being impacted by this
Yeah.
individually, business perspective, community. And I think about, again, coming back to your story. I mean, those early days, there was also some great successes before those. I mean, you had won the CFDA Best New Designer in America right before 9/11. Is that right?
Mhm.
Like
That's
2000.
correct. Yeah. Yeah.
These like peaks, and then all of us get hit with this giant moment. And I think it's such a good reminder that wherever you are, so much of it is about sort of the learnings and sort of the mindset.
Yeah.
And to your point, that's not to like overgeneralize.
Yeah. You don't want to take things for granted either. It's like during that, you hit it on the head. I mean, we had just come off a super huge, accomplishment for us, and we really thought we could kind of parlay that into, big things, and then you get knocked right down to the bottom again.
Yeah,
And and I look back and it's like, man, I really took that for granted, and then it teaches you to, like, appreciate it and enjoy it, and try not to get too high, too low. You just you got to keep rocking.
I got to think, so many of those lessons and sort of the sort of change in perception, and then also like adjustment to what you said, going from suits to a sort of different focus. Um,
Hmm.
Jump ahead, and again, kind of going back a little bit into your history. I mean, you won another CFDA award, which for those that don't know, that's basically like the Academy Awards for like the fashion industry. So do you look back and sort of look at the second time that you won something? I think it was 2012. Um, a lot of the lessons that you learned after that moment of being here and then going here and then having to sort of reset and refocus was part of the success in sort of that back upward trajectory.
Yeah, yeah. You learn that I mean, it's you can't sit still. It's not. I mean, that obviously wonderful. We went through the Vogue Fashion Fund, and that was a really big thing for us, and great momentum behind that. And then in 2012 with the CFTA thing, all of those things were wonderful. But if we stopped and just sort of like, oh, look at us, we it would we wouldn't get anywhere. So you do have to kind of, again, I think it's one of those things where you have to go, this is wonderful. Um, but at the end of the day, you still have to make, wonderful clothes that your customer relates to,
Mhm.
and you still have to sell clothes, and I really try to put so much focus on that, and just making sure that we stay on track and never lose that, that sort of original idea. When I first started, I wanted to make, things that were familiar to people, but also somewhat unexpected, and what they might think they'd find in something that was familiar enough where it's like, yeah, I want to wear that. It's not like it's not wearing you, but like when you look on the inside and you look at how it's made and you look at all the subtle details, that was something that I really wanted the collection to be about. And at times I can feel us, going a different
Mhm.
different directions. I mean, it's easy. I mean, we're creative, so we're always wanting to experiment.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you have to look and go, does it really come back to what that original idea was? Because that's what people fell in love with, and that's what they want. That's what they expect from us. So you have to give them what they expect, but give them something they don't expect either.
Yeah.
Like I look at, like you look at, like the Rolling Stones when they did the Some Girls album. There was some disco on there,
Yeah.
so that was unexpected. But it still sounds freaking good right now. So you have to experiment, but you also have to keep it in your lane a little bit too.
That's something that I've shared with you in person, and then we also wrote about it on the Huckberry Journal previously, and something that I know collectively and myself personally have always gravitated towards is exactly what you just said, and it's um, there's an accessibility and sort of a welcoming to the product, but there's also this quality and also this uniqueness that does separate it from the other sort of things of similar style in your closet. So, I mean, we were just kind of talking about like the elbow patches on a crew neck, and then obviously the quality and where it's made and how it's made. We've nerded out. You've let me nerd out with you on your denim shirts, and like
Yeah.
more iconic staples in sort of a man's closet, but the detail that you put in, the buttons, the cut, the pockets, I think that's something that, you know, our community and our customers always appreciated. I know it's something myself that has gravitated me to the brand. There's always that extra element of thought and story, but
Yeah.
I go back to one of my first conversations with you, and something that's always stuck with me, and I think how you described it, at least to me, was you want to design clothes that you can like live in, like underline live. And I love what you just said, that like you wear the clothes don't wear you.
Yeah. Man, that's well, you we should record that right there. You said it perfectly, you know. And I think that's what I think our relationship, you know, what personal relationship we've had for a while, and of course with our relationship with Huckberry, I think your customers and supporters, they identify with that. It's such a, you know, they do appreciate how something is made. They do appreciate those details, and they want to live with it. You know, they want the clothes to live with you, like a chair. You know, it's not something that, it's not a couple of seasons. You know, it's 10 years from now. You know, what does that piece mean to you 10 years from now? Can you still, is it still important in your wardrobe? And you know, that's what we try to build in our own way, and try to put those little unique things that also make it, you know, different enough to make it our own. You know, I think that's sort of what we try to do. So
Yeah.
I love hearing stuff like that, because it means it means we got a few things right, maybe.
Yeah.
So that's always good.
Well, I think back, I mean, one of my first shirts that I ever bought 10 years ago, I still own and still wear. And it's still like in style, however you want to describe it. So there is sort of like a timelessness to it all in a way, not to use sort of these ways, but it is very true with your brand. And there's also, I mean, you can't own something for 10 years if there isn't quality as well. And so it's
True.
thoughtfulness,
True.
but it's, you know, how it's made, where it's made, the materials that you choose. So I know that's been foundational in your brand since
Mm-hmm.
the beginning. I gotta feel like, and it's something that, you know, we see in our community continues to show us, even in this post-COVID sort of era that we're in, whatever you want to call it, but that appreciation for like versatility, quality. People are being a lot more intentional if they're spending money, and then also wanting to like support brands that connect to them on a more personal level, that connect to
Mm-hmm.
their community or their extended community or their sort of personal ethos. And so I've got to imagine that that's something that you know, you guys are proud of. Obviously, it's been foundational in your brand, but you know, in this current situation that we're in right now, that's, I think, are you guys seeing that with your own customers? Like they want to continue to like rally around Billy Reid as a brand and as the people behind it, but also because they know that if they buy something now, it's still going to be in style. It's still going to be functioning in a piece of their closet 5-10 years from now. It's a good investment, really.
Yeah, man, I hope you're spot on with that, because that is something, you know, as we've gone through this, and certainly a lot of soul searching, that you know, that premise right there of you know, people wanting things that feel important to them, you know, useful things, you know, not just frivolous
Mhm.
fashion, you know. And I feel like that's something that is something kind of foundational to what we've tried to do. And we hope that, and I really believe that will resonate more than ever, you know, going into what we're about, you know, what we're going through right now, and what we're about to hit into, you know, versatility. You know, we've been looking at more seasonless type things, more seasonless pieces. I mean, it's May. You have on that sweatshirt right now. You know, I've got on a V-neck cashmere sweater. It's May here in Alabama. You know, so you know that's a 9 to 10 month piece. You know, depending on where you're living, and we're really trying to, you know, look at those things, and also look at the things that people have expected from us, and people, you know. Again, I'll come back to the denim shirt, or that, you know, the crew sweatshirt you have on there, is making sure those things are available for our customers and new customers. Those are great ways to kind of also, you know, come into the brand in some ways, because those are foundational pieces. The denim shirt we made, I think 2004 was the first one we made. So, and it's still around, and it's still our best selling piece a shirt we have in the collection. So we really try to build on that, and we're hoping, that, our idea is, we should probably make less things and continue to make better things, and more important things, and things that don't go away. And you really try to lean on the community of folks, whether it's, we've really tried to build, this world of people that kind of go into this with us, whether they're restaurateurs or chefs and musicians and artists. And, we've really tried to, through the years, partner with those folks. And, we'd always say, hell, we don't know what we're doing, but let's do it together. And, hopefully that still works, and I feel like it can. And I feel like all of us need each other more than ever now. And if we can team up and, do these endeavors, and mutually and in partnership, it feels more important and more meaningful in some ways. And, it also helps introduce new folks to something, a whole new audience in some ways.
Well, I'm glad you brought up community, because that's in addition to obviously like the product ethos that we've been talking about, the versatility, the quality, the timelessness, but the attention to detail and story. So much of that is inspired by the community that you've created and the community that you have. And I've always found it particularly inspiring, even spending time with you in Florence and seeing, walking down Main Street, and from what you do with Shindig to the restaurants and sort of the friends that you've created in that community, but extends beyond just Florence. I think you have that same feeling of community in every store that you have across the US. And you guys were one of the first to truly make your retail spaces, not just a store, but a place that you wanted people to hang out, and hosting of musicians and up and coming chefs and artists and designers. And so, I think that's something that, again, going back to what people really value in your brand from the beginning, but particularly right now, it is about supporting one another. And your brand is not just buying a shirt for the sake of having a really nice sweatshirt that you're going to have for 10 years. It's also, there's community that you are supporting and is supporting you. And I've always found that, I think, inspiring, like I said, and I know a lot of people in our community feel the same way. And I think, like I said, from a customer mindset, like they want to support brands that are beyond just like a really nice fancy tagline and logo. It's real, and there's people behind it. And I got to feel like that's something, again, that has just been foundational to you guys, but is so important going forward.
Yeah. And some of that was just, it was kind of unexpected, in some ways. I can't say it was some master plan, that we had in the beginning. It just sort of evolved into it. And the more that we kind of did things like that, whether it was, obviously we're based in a small town in Florence, Alabama. And, we've seen what a company like ours can mean to a community like that, where, we're bringing in people to work with us from all over the country. All over the world, really. We have folks from Europe and Asia that work with us and live in Florence now. And, then you have people visiting, like, you're coming in from the West Coast, and people are coming from New York and Chicago, and, they're visiting. And when you start to bring that energy that those people have into that small community, and you mix them with all the locals, it creates it. You can change hearts and minds. You can be in this small southern town, and then all of a sudden, you start to learn someone else's story, and that can change what you think about things and what your point of view on stuff. And it's been so cool to watch that happen in our town. And like I said, it wasn't something we really expected to happen or went out to as a strategy to do that. It just sort of developed that way. And I really, we want to do that more. We hope that stuff, it matters to us. and we hope it matters to, people that, our customers and future customers. And because now it's something that it's really truly something we put a lot of work into.
No, totally. I love this. I think it was a customer who wrote in recently, and they were raving about whether it was the exclusive denim shirt that we did together. Um,
Yeah.
it was, I forget the exact wording, but um, they loved the shirt, but they felt like they were also like buying a story, and not only their own story with the shirt, but all the things that you're talking about. Like what they purchased is they're now, part of this Billy Reid community. And I think that that speaks a lot to what you guys have created. And to your point, like, yeah, maybe it wasn't a strategy, but that's what makes it so much more real. It's just
Yeah.
you want to be inspired, how you want to help your community, how you want to interact with those that you work with or support. And so yeah, I think it's something we definitely commend you on. And I'm banking on that. I mean, that's how I feel as a consumer, as a community member. I want to support my friends, and if
Well,
anybody know Billy Reid, the brand or not, like you're a brand
yeah.
brand.
Well, man, it's great to hear stuff like that. I mean, that's, it's why we do it. That those types of things. That's awesome. I love hearing stuff like that.
Yeah. What about kind of shifting to what you're doing now, and you're in your cabin, and so much of
Mhm.
what we've been talking about, and so much that you put into your design and the inspiration behind products, there's a story behind it, right? Whether it's, again, like the elbow patches wearing out from your crew neck on your Jeep. um, where are you looking in travels that you've had? Last time I saw you, just gotten back from Amsterdam. We're working on a collection inspired by the colors and the
Yeah.
architecture and sort of the vibe of that area. um,
Yeah.
where are you looking to right now for inspiration? Not being able to necessarily go out and experience new places, has anything changed in sort of where you're going into looking for new ideas and inspiration for new products?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, we just gotten back from Amsterdam and Copenhagen, which was a huge, I'd never been to Copenhagen before, which that was such an inspiring trip just to see that, the architecture, the design, but mostly just the lifestyle, and my wife and I, the whole time we were there, it's like, this feels sort of like how we like to live in Alabama in some ways. We felt such a connection, and it's like, okay, we're across, obviously, across the other side of the world, and how that relates to us here, in the South. And I think now, yeah, obviously, I'm not traveling right now. I'm not really going anywhere. So a lot of the inspiration now is really looking. It's been inward, and really, which is where it started. I started here, and I could really take the surroundings and, finding those little gems that kind of put you over the top, whether it's, like you're talking about the sweatshirt you have on, and that, that a personal inspiration there. Or, you see a man walking down the street and he's got these high-waisted trousers on, you go, wow, he doesn't know how cool he is right now. Are you in some little random thrift shop that, doesn't get picked over like the thrift shops I may visit in New York, and you find these little jewels that turn into something bigger, and being out here at the cabin, honestly, it's like a big tree house. So, that sense of warmth and, home, and all of that's comfort. That really kind of, it makes you, again, I think more right now, I'm thinking more close to home,
Hmm. Yeah,
um, big time.
yeah, that makes sense. What about kind of continuing on that strand of product and sort of the season that we're going into? Always love picking your brain again on sort of the inspiration, your thoughts behind the fabric and the style. Um, couple sort of signature pieces for you from a style standpoint, and then also from a fabric standpoint that I know our team's really excited about, and we've got a bunch of them on the site. One is your polo, which similar to your denim,
Mhm.
kind of one of those
Yeah.
iconic your own twist on. And then
Yeah.
second, linen is a fabric, and we've got some
Yeah.
really linen pieces. So those are the two things I want to pick your brain on a little bit. But starting with the polo, tell us a little bit about the Billy Reid polo.
Yeah. Well, that polo is it's kind of interesting how it started. It's believe it or not, it's such a polo is such a classic piece. It actually derived for us from a runway piece
Hmm.
that had this cap sleeve. It was it was super trim. It was on a runway model,
Yeah.
and we actually at the time called it the muscle polo. And it was so funny. We took that old sample and revised it, gave it a little ease the fit a little bit. It still got a nice slimming fit to it. Um, but we found this beautiful Pima cotton, and then we started adding details where we took woven shirting and inside the placket, under the collar, great pocket. We put sort of our bar tack branding on the pocket, give it a little bit of branding detail, and it where it was a classic polo, for lack of a better way to describe it, but yet it had these details that kind of made it ours.
Mm-hmm.
And we had no idea. So the shipment came in, the first shipment we had, and it was off spec. So it was like, wow, this came in an inch smaller than we wanted it to. Well, we didn't have a choice. We had to put it in the store. Well, we sold out of it immediately. So, and then it was like people love the fit. So it was like, okay, well, we can't change it now. And that was, I don't know, where are we now? 20. So that was 13 years ago. It's still, it's our best selling knit shirt we've ever made. We now offer it in a variety of colors, and we haven't changed it since then.
Yeah.
So it's just, and it's still, for thank God, it's worked. But it was one of those things that kind of was a mistake to begin with, and it ended up being just a real great success for us.
I think I shared in our last interview and the piece that I wrote in sort of my introduction to the brand. I grew up in New England, and obviously certain types of polos are kind of a uniform there. And I admitted, like, I at 17, 18, 19 had far too many pastel colored polos. And I got rid of them and sort of like, I don't want to say like cursed polos for the next 10 years, but it was just not something that I was sort of scarred when I look back on some of those photos of me with like a bright collar popped polo. But I'm tempted to run into my closet and pull out the one that, just hearing you describe it, I'm like, oh, I got to go put it on. It is a great polo, even for someone who, and again, polos and denim shirts are like as classic and signature to a guy's closet, but sometimes polos are like too preppy. I love the sort of detail, the pocket, and then you guys have 4 buttons, right? Is it 3 or 4?
It's 4 mother of pearl buttons, on the polo.
It makes it different and sort of more unique than a more traditional like 3 button.
I actually love how you described that, because I mean, same coming from South Louisiana. I remember having like pink and pale, all these pastel polos that I used to have, and we did that it's great. That's classic Americana. I mean, you can't deny it. But we wanted we wanted that in a more modern version, I guess.
No, it's a great one. I will say, I never did the 2 polo popped collar. I can at least give myself a lot of friends that did.
Did you do the layering under the button down?
I never did that either. No.
I was big on that. I was huge on that for a little while.
Underneath the button down.
Yeah, underneath the button down with my boxers sticking out of my cutoffs. That was a big Louisiana thing. Like you had to have cutoffs, and you had the cutoff duck heads
Yep.
with really washed down with holes in them, and then where your boxer shorts
It's funny.
showed through the holes.
I remember I had this, like, there was a stage, I don't think it was just me, but having your boxers go longer than your shorts. Like I remember
Uh,
I wore like the Umbro soccer shorts all the time, and then
yeah,
they were pretty high, so you made sure that your boxers were hanging beneath.
yeah.
This I never did the polo under the button down, but we'll certainly share some if you got any photos to share.
Oh my God, I'm sure my mom has some photos there. To the boxer short, man, I still love. I'm still kind of into the boxer short below the shorts.
Yeah.
So, a few years ago, excuse me, we actually sampled a extra long boxer short
Huh.
purposely, so it would come out of the bottom of the shorts. We actually used selvage, so the selvage would hang out of the bottom. We never made them.
Huh.
They're in the archive someplace, but it was like. I think they were so expensive, using the selvage and everything else that we kind of, and nobody understood what I was talking about either. It's like, what? You're going to wear these? How?
That is so funny. Well, maybe we have to dip into that for our next collaboration. Bring back.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, it's going to be hot. It's going to be a hot item, baby.
They're getting pretty weird in quarantine.
Yeah.
One other, so polos, and then, one other sort of fabric that, and it's one of those fabrics that I think everyone knows. But for me, growing up in New England, it wasn't something that I necessarily wore much. I always thought it was more of a Southern fabric, and that has quickly changed as I've gotten to know it and try the products. But linen, it's obviously like synonymous with warm weather and lightweight, but
Yeah.
how wearable it is. I particularly like, we've got the 5-pocket linen pant from you guys on the site right now, and
Oh yeah.
a pair of those. Just it's like when I'm not wearing sweatpants and like I'm actually wearing shorts right now. Like a really comfortable fabric. It's not just cool in summer, but like the softness and how it wears in. I know that's been a fabric that's been sort of instrumental in a lot of styles that you've had over the years.
Yeah, we try, linen, at times, certainly it's evolved so much over the years as a textile, but at times it can be stiff and rigid, and it can, it obviously linen is, you can almost look at linen sometimes and it starts to wrinkle, So one thing about the linen that when we use linen, we really try to put a pretty heavy wash on it with softener, and it just really relaxes the fabric. And on that particular shirt and that trouser, or pant rather, it man, it's really about the hand more than anything else. And the way it takes the color, it just washes down where you get a really nice high-low. It just kind of puckers the seam just enough. But when you put that wash finish on it and you have that sort of, it has a beautiful drape to it, which linen sometimes does not have a drape at all. I mean, it's almost like a starched shirt at times. We try to take all of that out of it. And so what that really does, again, it's kind of unintentional. It takes away that wrinkle factor somewhat, because you've washed it so much that you've taken out that boardy feel to it, where it does, it's already kind of got that relaxed feel to it. And that's what we really tried to do with that shirt. We kept it in a fairly simple body, just a great one pocket, button down shirt that just truly relaxed.
Sorry, is that the Tuscumbia linen shirt? Am I saying that right?
I think so. Yeah, the Tuscumbia. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we've got a few. The cotton linen 5-pocket pant is something that we're all pretty excited about. Like I said, I've got one, and then the Tuscumbia. It's a great way to describe it. I think again, it goes back to it's a similar approach to your denim shirts and sort of the wash and the feel and even the side of this shirt. So much of it is how it feels on you, like obviously how it looks and those details, but in the end, like we want,
man,
that's particularly important right now too.
Man, you want that. I mean, you just want folks to feel like it's already broken in for you, especially on those things, which a denim shirt, again, it could be a really boardy, stiff fabric, but we really try to take it where it's almost something that it's almost got like a good year's worth of wear in it from how the fabrication feels.
Yeah.
So when you put it on immediate, it's like, wow, all right, I'm ready. I don't have to break this in. It's ready to go.
Love that. Love that. Kind of shifting gears and being respectful of our time here. I'd love to, we talked a lot about obviously the brand and the product and talked about some of our spring highlights. Talking a little bit more about what you're doing outside of work to stay sane, stay active, stay creative. You're in your cabin. You said 20 minutes outside Florence. Tell us a little bit about the space and
Yeah.
the story behind the cabin.
Yeah. Well, we got this place about a little over 4 years ago, and it looks nothing like it does now. I'll kind of take you around, but we're here on the water, and it's just we've got a few acres here, so it's almost like a giant tree house. I'll kind of flip the camera around, but what we tried to do is when we took the place, this space I'm in right now was 6 separate rooms. Actually, well, 7. I guess you had to count what was the porch. And what we did was just open the whole thing up. We wanted to make a giant loft out of it. So you can see now the ceiling is, it's got this huge cathedral type ceiling in here now. But we wanted to try to also bring the outside inside. So like the chandelier that you see here, I made that from just wood I collected out of the water. I kept just pulling all this driftwood out. Yeah. And I had this giant stack, and we just kind of put together, the chandelier.
How long did that or collect wood? Like, what was the process there?
I'll try to show you from here if I can. Bear with me a second. Hopefully this works. Well, that's a stack of wood that we're trying. This place is still a work in progress. We just kind of work on it as we can. But as you can see down here, that the wood kind of comes into that little inlet right there. So that was a porch, and so we just kind of gutted. So where those beams are was kind of the porch, and we knocked that wall out. We took the ceiling up to the top, all the way to the top. It was dropped in here. We built some kind of windows and a kind of some cool shapes. You can see how that one kind of goes above these cabinets. Had this really kind of awkward fireplace in it and we actually covered it and wrapped it in reclaimed wood and painted it and made a bookcase out of the side of it there. That was a table that was this was actually an old cafeteria table. I found this on the side of the road in Nashville.
No way.
And we made it. You can see that my wife's got her puzzle right there.
Yeah.
We made that mirror, kind of Shishugi bonded, burned it, and there. And then that's kind of my little office setup over here. Made my little table. I got that from the river, a couple of pieces of stumps. Just some of the books and stuff here. We found this big, huge piece of wood here.
Whoa.
My guitars and stuff. But yeah, so then we just kind of opened this whole space. We don't have a kitchen table, so we're still working on it. We made this kind of interesting light here, kind of opened this kitchen up. This actually, the staircase came out of my great grandmother's home, and my dad had saved the pieces of it, and we sort of repurposed it here. Found this really cool piece of driftwood that kind of looks like Scream.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing what you kind of find around here.
What a beautiful
and yeah, so we're still kind of working on it, but it's little by little. Someday we'll move out here and spend our days out here. So
I can see I see what you mean now by sort of a treehouse feel. You really feel like
it's just in the trees around. It's just nothing but trees. You don't see anything but trees and a little bit of water down there.
Beautiful space. We'll get some. You've got a bunch of pictures before and after, so we'll make sure if you're still cool with it, we'll share a few.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool, man. It's so much. I mean, that's my hobby. I mean, really, we just work on the property, work on the house. It's been fun to watch it come together.
That's amazing. What other, in the last couple minutes we've got, what about any recommendations? Any good, I know you're always reading, you're always listening to great music. Any books that you're reading right now that you'd recommend?
I'm not a big reader, to be honest with you, but I, I have such ADD that I can't focus. So I like to look at pictures. I've got this great book, working on the cabin here. It's called Modern Cabins.
Okay.
A friend of mine, David Sunderland, you actually met in Florence, works with us. He gave me this book, and man, so inspirational if you're into kind of, that sort of taking little spaces and old spaces and, putting them on steroids. Really been into that. A lot of, again, kind of going back to the Copenhagen trip, so many, Finn Jewell, the furniture designer, and trying to fill, what else? We have a ton of photography books here. I mean, I think I probably put a few of them on the, when I showed the books down here. Those are kind of things that I've been working with for different graphics and textile work and things like that. But musically, I have been all over the board lately. We've lost some people over the past couple of months that have, Bill Withers, man, I was a huge Bill Withers fan. And then to learn his story, he didn't really start his career till he was 30.
Really?
Yeah. And he was, in West Virginia, his family was in the mining, were miners. And, he, a really interesting story, but kind of digging into that. Of course, John Prine passed. That was huge as well. So I've been playing a lot of John Prine on the guitar here and trying to learn some Bill Withers on the guitar. And it's so funny, like with the kids, we were having I don't know how it came up, but the word fez came up, and my kids were like, what's a fez?
Yeah. And
so I immediately went to, my songs and pulled up Steely Dan. the Fez, so you had to play. I played it for him, and of course, that starts a Steely Dan conversation. You start digging into that a little bit. There's been a couple of things, been listening to the Black Pumas a lot. I love those guys. Arlo Parks, there's kind of some other, and then I listen to KCRW out of Los Angeles, which is Eclectic 24 Radio.
Yeah.
You get such a cool mix. I mean, you might hear Willie Nelson, and then you might hear, Kendrick Lamar right after it. And I love that. So, I mean, honestly, I play that pretty much nonstop because you just get such a great range.
Yeah.
And I love the eclectic kind of mix of things. So that's what I've been into lately.
What about, are you guys cooking more? I mean,
yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Have you tried? You got
What's that?
Any highlights? Any sort of standout meals? Anything new that you guys have tried with sort of the additional time that you've got in sort of home right now?
Yeah, we've experimented with. We actually experimented with some of my grandmother's recipes. I have like this little box of hers that had her recipes in it. So we've, which were very gravy heavy type things, being in South Louisiana. So we actually shared a couple of things online. We did a tutorial on how to cook jambalaya. Cool. That we put online. We've got another one. We just finished another little family video. It's so funny. It's like the whole family's involved in the production scene, now. We just did one on barbecue shrimp, on how to cook barbecue shrimp and the things that kind of go with it. Yeah, so we're kind of doing these old South Louisiana family recipes and trying to film some of it and continue sharing that with people.
Yeah, well, we'll be on the lookout. We'll definitely share a few of those.
Yeah. Yeah, the barbecue shrimp one is so easy and amazing. Really amazing. Pretty. I mean, not bragging on our cooking, but it's it's idiot proof. Let's just put it. If we can cook it, it's idiot proof. One thing about South Louisiana cooking, you can almost throw anything in it, just as long as you got the, you know, the trilogy of celery, onions, and bell pepper. You're probably going to be in good shape.
Yeah. What about my last question as it relates to like provisions? What's sort of the drink of choice uh during quarantine right now?
All right, so I'm gonna give you. I'm not a huge craft beer guy,
Uh,
so I've been a little bit of Miller High Life with salt.
with salt.
With salt. That's my dad's. That was my dad's big drink.
Did
He'd
you
always put a little
mix it in or on the rim?
both. You do get a little bit of a fizz. You know, immediate sort of fizz comes up out of, you know, from the salt. But I like to put it sort of on the rim and just kind of, you know, lick a little bit, drink the beer. It's yeah, that's been a big one. And then if you can find, these have been hard to find, but the San Pellegrino limonadas.
Yeah.
Take the limonadas with the fresh limes, tequila. You need a good tequila to make it taste worth a damn. And you might need a little bit of like sweetener,
Hmm.
like a stevia or something. And it's just an unbelievable, easy, kind of lightweight margarita.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, yeah, that's been kind of that's as we transition into spring. That's kind of a little bit of
I just
a
made
go-to.
tequila. A good friend of ours. We actually caught up with him last week. Taylor Steele is an old surf filmmaker.
Yeah,
Launched a tequila brand, Salento, and I've never been a huge tequila drinker, especially like a sipper. And
yeah.
he gave me, one of his bottles, and I think I mean, it's 1 week in, but I've been sipping on one every other night, and I think I'm converted. Um, what's your tequila choice when you said like a good tequila? What any recommendations there on your end?
You know, I mean, our selection of tequila here in Florence, that's just probably the weakness of being in Florence. Sometimes it's our liquor store is,
Yeah.
but we do have Patron.
Okay. Yeah.
So, you know, I'll pick up some Patron. I'll go, you know, I'll splurge on that. I figure I don't drink a lot of tequila, so if I do it, I'm gonna try to find a good one.
Yeah.
I drank enough bad tequila, you know, in my early years that I don't need to drink bad tequila anymore. So I'm probably good there.
Okay.
And then, you know, I've been being home a lot more. You know, I've been digging into sort of the back stock of the bourbon. You know, that you know, some that I would try to save and not open.
Yeah.
Well, those bottles have been opened. So
Any bottle that you've opened recently that?
yeah, I mean, it was a bottle of Old Fitzgerald,
Okay.
which is kind of the early beginnings of Pappy. And a friend of mine had given me several years ago, and I said, "Oh, I'll wait till my daughter gets married or something to open this." I go, "Oh, well, that
Yeah.
times are tough, man. You got, I'll find another bottle."
Totally.
But yeah, so that came open. I mean, I've kind of stockpiled a little bit of some old Weller 107,
Yeah.
and I've got a couple of bottles of Pappy that are open that I just kind of sip on every now and then.
Yeah.
So
You know,
those are my. I tell you what, a damn good bourbon that's inexpensive, and if you can find it, it's so good. Is Old Granddad 114.
Old Granddad 114. I don't think
Yeah,
I've.
the 114 is key. Now look, man, you can find it for like $20,
Hmm.
and it's got a similar recipe to the, you know, to the Weller and the Pappy, but the 114 will knock you on your tail.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's got a good taste to it. Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all.
I was given a bottle of Weller recently and didn't quite realize like the history and the story there. And once I,
Yeah.
and they're like, I'm going to save this for, but it's now, you know, when we're not leaving the home nearly as much, if anything, just going for a walk, it's
Yeah.
become like what I look forward to on Friday night, like pouring a little glass and that's it's those little moments that you've got to appreciate. Going back to
Oh,
the original points, like does makes those moments like that much sweeter.
yeah.
And so
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Yeah, the Wellers become hard to find too. Now, I mean, it's yeah, that's good. I'm the same way. I kind of save it for those little moments. Maybe when some sporting event starts back other than Korean baseball, I'll definitely enjoy something. I'll break something out for that.
yeah. Well, I can't wait till the shindig is back, and in particular
Yeah,
the shindig baseball game. So I told you, you need a good bench warmer and someone who can help drink the whiskey after the game.
yeah.
I'm the guy. So
Come on down, man. Hopefully soon
yeah.
we'll be able to do that. You know, just hoping. Yeah, we just got to get out of this stuff. So
Well,
yeah,
Billy, it's always so great to connect, and I always feel like could rap about all of these different things for hours on end. But I really appreciate you spending some time today, and like I said, looking forward to a proper reconnect over a glass of a whiskey soon enough. But until then, looking forward to continuing what we're all doing together online and with Huckberry and Billy Reid. Thanks again for everything you've done to support our brand, and excited for fall. We've got some special things coming up
oh
between
yeah,
building off of last year, so don't want to give too much away. But
yeah.
looking forward, we've got some things coming. So very much
Well,
looking.
man, thank you to you, man, and to all you guys there, and to all. I mean, you're wonderful. The community you all been able to build, and how they've really taken us in, you know, and it's been just wonderful to see, and it's so natural, you know. It just feels so natural to do, and to have it from a business standpoint and a personal standpoint. So my thanks go to you guys, and man, I wish you safety, much luck with the newborn, and
Thank you.
hopefully we'll be doing this in person very soon.
Yes, absolutely. Well, until then.